Now we have a little bit of an introduction to the conditional structure. It's time to start applying it. Nice to talk about it, but the real goal here is application. And as, like I said, you're going to practice this quite a bit. Not only the rest of this course, but really the rest of your curriculum and pretty much the rest of your career. You're always learning on how to apply and do your logic better. There's always a better way. One of the great things that happened to me in my career is that one of my first employers, AT&T, forced us to look at our, what I want to say, have a peer review with our design. Meaning we got people together and they looked at our design to see how we were doing our logic. Some people might say, "Ooh, God, I don't like that. I don't want to, look stupid in front of people." But what was really nice about it is the learning that came from that. Once you swallowed your ego a little bit and you took your design in and allowed people to critique it, versus taking it personally, you start learning from it and saying, "There's a better way of doing that." Somebody might say, "I did it this way one time. It really looked well, and it really worked well. It was more efficient." And that's how I kept learning and finally kept learning. So even to this day, I've been doing this for a long time now. Every time I do something, I look at better ways of doing it and maybe restructure my programs to look a little, to work more logically better. So there's no end to it. Programming, maybe almost like law and was like, medicine is a practice. You're constantly looking to constantly improve, and there's no end to that. So please learn that learning is ongoing. You guys are just beginning. So with that, take some time and realize you're not going to become a star programmer overnight. And if you think you already are, I promise you you're not. And so keep learning, keep allowing yourself to look at things more open, and you'll slowly get better as you go through it. Okay, what I want to do now is kind of walk through an example. I like teaching by example. So here's a nice problem here called VB Auto Center. VB Auto Center so we're going to create a project that will be used to determine the total amount due for the purchase of a vehicle. The application should accept the base price of the vehicle and any trade-in allowance. Also, the application should allow for selection of the following options: a sound system for $500, leather interior for $1,000, and navigation for $1,500. In addition, the customer can choose an exterior finish of standard, which comes with the car, or pearlized, which is $500, or a custom detailing, which is $750. I guess put stripes on it or whatever you want. All right, in that case. So the whole idea is we're going to create an application for this dealership to be able to take in certain things. So the application should calculate the total accessories and finish. It should add the base price to the AF price, that's the accessory and finish price, and determine and display the sales tax. So we're going to add those two together, and we'll have a sales tax, in this case 8%. Display the total of the base price, AF price, and the sales tax as a subtotal. Subtract any tax and allowance, trade-in allowance, not tax and allowance, trade-in allowance, and display the total amount. All right, so the application should accept the base price of the vehicle, 80 trade-in allowance. So the first thing we do, based upon our design checklist, correct, is determine our inputs. I hope you're already screaming that out there. And so what are our inputs into this particular project? And so if we go up here one more time and said the application should accept the base price of the vehicle and any trade-in allowance, I would say that's our inputs. If I continue to read through this, we're going to have some options here. And we could possibly put those down that other things are going to be these applications should allow for accessories, okay? And that would be either sound, leather, or navigation, or I should say, navigation. In addition, they can choose a finish. So those would be inputs too. So we have base price, trade-in allowance, options, and then navigations or accessories. Okay, let me slow down here. We would have options or finish, and in this case, accessories or finish. Okay, stumbling all over myself. I could start this whole video over again, but I don't know. It's real life, right? So in that case, so we have accessories and finish. I would think those are all inputs in some way. Does that make sense? My outputs to this to say I need to calculate my total accessories and finish. It's pretty obvious what this is asking for. So somewhere on my form, I'm going to calculate and display this. I'm going to add them both together and then come up and display my sales tax. That would be an output also. Finally, I'm going to add them all together as a subtotal. And we'll subtract any trade-in allowance that I had inputted for my car. Okay, so if I'm trading something in, what are they going to give me for my trade-in? Okay, could be nothing or something, right? And then finally, the total amount due to the dealership for my new car that I'm purchasing. Does that make sense? Pretty straightforward, right? And so on. So once again, I kind of did this part of it down here for us. Let's see if I can find this without giving away everything. Base price, trade-in, accessories, and finish. This is going to be, let's see, let me take this piece out here for us. A little bit confusing. We're going to have the AF price, which is the accessories and finish price, is my output, my tax, my total price, and my grand total. Okay. I believe in there also we needed a subtotal. So there you go, right there. Right there. There we go. Okay. So we determine our inputs. We have determined our outputs. Next step, right, is any assumptions. Is there anything we should assume in here? I'm not quite sure there is. It's pretty straightforward. You might be screaming something, but not too much. Yeah, these are the only accessories you can have. It'll be at this price right here. And this is the only finishes you can have. Nothing more, nothing less in this case, okay? And so this would end up being our inputs and our outputs. Make sense? Okay. The next thing we would do is we would sit back and say, okay, now that we have this, let's go into building. Is everything in logical order? Usually in the classroom, we end up having these kind of mixed up and we have to kind of go through it. But in this case, it truly is. Obviously, we got to do our AF price before we can ever figure our tax, correct? Because the tax is going to be based upon the base price plus any accessories and finishes we added. And so then we're going to tax that. Our subtotal has to be calculated after we get the tax because that's going to be the base price plus the AF price plus the tax. It says it right here. See that right there? Obviously, our total price, okay, I should take, maybe I have this kind of written up here. So our grand total, I should say, is going to be based upon our total minus our trade-in. Okay, our total amount due is really what I have up here. So total amount due is what should actually be on there. Does that make sense? And that will come last. So we have 4 outputs. So I have this correct. 1, I got this, my tax. 2, my subtotal is 3, and then we're going to come up with my total amount due, and that's going to be based upon my subtotal minus my trade-in. Are they in the right order? The answer in this case is yes. If you brainstorm this and you had them in different orders, you would need to go through it and make sure you have them in the right order. Why? Because you want to solve it one thing at a time, right? One thing at a time. I highly recommend, now that we're especially into more complex programming with conditions and logic to it, always design your programs. It's going to save you hours and hours of time. I promise you. It will. I had a student in my class the other day saying, I didn't believe you before. Now I do. It's amazing how this made it so much easier. Think about it before you dive into it, and then it's going to save you time, okay? And so just doing this simple thing right here, now you understand the problem and you understand what you need to accomplish and what you need to do first. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to end this video, and when we come back, we will go ahead and do the logic. We'll build the pseudocode solving for each one of those outputs. Okay?